Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Illura. What is karma? Karma is cause and effect, and we are all subject to the karmic laws while we are in this wheel of suffering. While we have not, if we're not enlightened, like most of us are not, we're rolling around in the day-to-day cause and effect of karma. And so we're all subject to the laws of karma, which we recognize because we're all subject to these laws, such as a karmic law could be if you drink, soda every day and eat hamburgers and chips and just eat crappy food, you're going to get fat. That's a karmic law. Another karmic law could be if you are a positive person, you give to others, you are kind to others, you allow your emotions to move through, you let go of your pain and your heartache and your anger so that you don't become bitter, then you are going to live a life that resonates at that frequency. So that is what the return will be, the effect will be. So we're constantly experiencing karma. And yes, we do have a karmic body that follows us, just like our soul body, which is subject to all the karmic laws of our choices and actions. And our karmic body flows and follows our soul and guides us through life, through all of our lifetimes, until we leave what they call this wheel, until we leave and go beyond the beyond, where we are then free of karma. We no longer are part of that contract made by the lords of karma. So Buddha is a good example of somebody that worked very hard and had many difficult experiences, but was diligent and smart and wise enough to work his way into an enlightened state, and is now beyond this karmic wheel of cause and effect and kind of coming in and out of that experience every single lifetime. So there's many different levels from completely the lower self to an enlightened state, but once you become enlightened, you do leave this wheel of cause and effect. So what if you could sufficiently release yourself through time, slow down time, and thus enter into a different kind of stream when meditating to make sure that you are lessening your suffering? This is something that we can do if we know how to move the mind through time, and we're able to then make more conscious decisions so that we don't keep putting our inertia into a stream that is screwing us up and making us make really bad decisions. So all of us have periods of time in our life where we kind of are on this, hell bent on destroying ourselves. Maybe not everybody, but everyone I know seems to have had a period where, or they might be in it now, where they're just not on a very good path for themselves karmically. Things are not going very well. They're not cultivating good habits. They're just kind of like driving themselves into a bit of a hole. And so when we release our karma, we are changing the course of our destiny. But it is us, through our actions, are the ones that can change our karma. Yeah. And so when we're able, what I mean by, in a way, slowing down time, slowing down our karma, what that means is that we've got more consciousness. I mean, spiritual development really is about having more consciousness. And with the more consciousness, we want more tools and abilities to be able to deal with that perspective opening up. Our perception abilities expanding. We need to have tools and abilities. And I will be doing more videos on how to build your foundations so that you have tools and abilities to deal with your consciousness expanding. Like in another video I recorded recently about not wanting to expand your consciousness before you're ready, before you really know yourself enough to really know that you are crazy, that we're all crazy, because it can be a real shock if you've been in denial or just didn't know how crazy you really are. So it is through our actions that we change our karma, that we change our cause and effect, that we change an inertial stream that's going in a bad direction into a much better direction where we experience basically less suffering. Now, if you don't pay attention, then you won't be able to change your actions, to know what to do. For example, if you have a dripping tap in your kitchen, you won't know to call the plumber to help you fix it if you haven't noticed that it's dripping. And you've got to get your hands dirty. In order to fix the car, you've got to get your hands dirty, right? Because you need to know the mechanics of the car. Now, if we don't have a sufficient amount of focused attention, if our concentration is dull, if our mind stream is full of too many distractions, if we're not strengthening our focus and attention abilities, then we really can't do anything with our life in a positive way, because you're not going to notice what's going on. You're not noticing what is cause and effect. You're not noticing what is taking place. So in order to free yourself from the lower self's karmic magnetism, which is often negative because of all the negative narratives we have and things like that, and often our lower self is quite young and coming from a lot of fear. It doesn't have the skills and abilities that our higher self has. So in order to raise your vibration, to raise your consciousness so that you can change your actions and change your karma, you need to pay attention. You need to grow your attention. And we write our own destiny through the level of our attention. Notice for yourself now, when your attention levels are really low and your concentration's really low and you're easily distracted, then how good are your abilities, the ones that you're wanting to grow? To say, if you're into Reiki, tuning into your totem animal, your spirit guides, creative writing, working with healing energy, whatever it is, if your concentration is low, then your ability is also going to be low, at a low level. When your attention is high, and I don't mean stressed, I mean like a soft light. Actually, that reminds me, this light should be on. Hang on. That's better. More light. When your attention is low, when your attention is high, your abilities are switched on, your spirit senses are awake, and you're able to experience your abilities, your spiritual beingness at a much higher frequency. So far, this is my understanding of karma, and our karmic body is very much connected with our soul body. And there's lots of the word soul is used in many different contexts. For example, someone might say, oh, his soul is so tormented. And the soul can be very tormented. I mean, it's just been through and weathered so many lives and so many cycles of life. And the other kind of end of the spectrum is meeting your soulmate and this like incredible love. Yet at the same time, a lot of people who do meet their soulmate, it can be so entangled in all of that cause and effect, and all of the cause and effect. And so the karmic body is very much wrapped in the soul body. And when you finally become enlightened, you actually transcend. Like, for example, Buddha left his soul. Yeah, and you're able to leave all that baggage. You've let go of it all. You no longer are holding on to it, and so you're free to travel beyond the beyond, without all of this kind of burden. But while we're here, we're learning how to deal with cause and effect, how to get our inertial stream going. The good thing about inertia is that once you set that ball rolling down the hill, a lot of the work's already done. And so it picks up its own pace and has its own inertia. This is not good if you're on a negative karmic path where you're not connected to your higher selves. You're only listening to your lower selves. Now, on the spectrum of higher self and lower self, the reason why I say higher selves, plural, is because there's a spectrum of higher selves. As you increase your consciousness and your skills and abilities, and you observe cause and effect, karma, and you start making better decisions, and your inertial stream starts to change its direction, your karma, your soul's journey through life and future lives is changing. The more consistent you are in changing that, you start to go through the spectrum of your higher selves, which takes you higher and higher and higher. Higher, lighter frequencies. The same goes for the lower selves. If you're more connected and putting more of your inertia into the lower selves, then you also have another spectrum which is denser and denser and denser, and you find you get really crystallized, stuck, fearful, and feeling trapped. So you have two different paths, and in a sense you could say one is good karma, and one is bad karma. Yeah. And so when we look back on our life and you're looking at maybe some of these difficulties, and especially as a teenager, often as a teenager or a young adult, we're going through a lot of identity and developing who we are in what is, I would say, quite a screwed up society and culture, not a very strong tribal culture we have on the planet today. Then it makes it difficult, and you have to be careful who you make friends with, who you go out with, because those people can really corrupt your values, and you can either, go down this way or go up this way. And so our inertia is very, very powerful. It's something I was not aware of for a very long time. For much of, my teenage years, I didn't feel aware of karma and cause and effect at all. And what happens is, as you get closer to death, it's quite common that people get more spiritually connected. And I think that's a very natural, intrinsic part of the human condition to get like that. And what'll happen is, if you've lived a life where your inertial stream has been about greed and laziness and all of the typical sins that we see in these religious texts, if you've put your inertia into cultivating those qualities, those substances, that is where your inertial stream is going. And you will, when you pass over into your next incarnation, that inertial stream keeps going. You just take on another vessel, whether it's human, animal, or the side of a house. It all depends on your karma. And it's the weighing up of cause and effect. Well, how has this person lived their life? Which stream did they put their inertia into? Did they put a lot into column A or column B? Where is their stream going? And so we are a direct, result of our choices and our actions, and that has everything to do with our attention. And so where you go on next into your next life, if you don't spend this life working on yourself and actualizing more of your spiritual development, your spiritual potential to expand your consciousness, build the skills and abilities that you need, then and change who you are and raise your vibration truly from more of a lower density to the spectrum of higher selves, then what will happen is your karmic body will repeat itself over and over again in the lives. And what happens is, if you don't cultivate enough consciousness in this life, then you have less chance of coming back and having the same good karma that you have in this life. The good karma in this life for me, for example, is being able to do these videos, is having safety, living in a safe place. I have all my basic needs met so that I'm able to take the time to work on myself spiritually and even and share anything that could be helpful to you. This is very good karma, and I'm working on changing the karma that I have cultivated in this life that's not good, and I'm working on that so that when I eventually pass on from this life, I want to have a higher level of inertia in the stream of the higher self. That's my goal. And so that, so that my next life is going to be closer or higher than this life, so I learn my lessons way faster and I get into that inertial stream much more quickly. So that could be a good goal to have. Now, the motivation for that can come from fear. I don't have a problem with using fear as a motivation for that kind of self-work, because sometimes it is fear that gets us into action. It is that feeling of suffering, that awareness of cause and effect. Many people go through life, I wouldn't say blissfully unaware, because I don't think ignorance is actually bliss, really. Mechanically, it's not actually bliss. There is a lot of suffering in the unconsciousness of many people. But if you go through life without realizing this stuff, you don't really have much choice. And so your karma is at that level, and you're not, but equally you can have many people with a lot of consciousness, but they're not actually using it due to things like laziness. And laziness affects a lot of people's karmic body, and also greed and apathy. They're quite strong, and pride and stubbornness. These substances are very strong on the planet, and I'd like to do some videos on those too. So thank you for listening on this video about karma. I hope it's been helpful, and please share your ideas in the comments below on what karma means to you. Thank you for listening. Bye bye.